Have you ever heard that the Catholic Church has always been against science? That it persecuted scientists, burned books, and held back humanity's progress? This is one of the biggest lies in history. And what if I told you that the Church was actually the greatest force behind the development of modern science? Sounds unbelievable? Then stay with me until the end of this video, because you might regret ever believing that. Today, I'm going to show you concrete facts based on history, the Bible, philosophy, and the scientists themselves. And after this video, no one will ever fool you about this topic again. First, biblical basis. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 31, we read that God saw all of his creation and considered it very good. In other words, matter is not evil. It is worthy of study and investigation. And in the Book of Wisdom, chapter 13, verse 5, it says, "For from the greatness and beauty of created things their original author, by analogy, is seen. This in itself already encourages a scientific outlook." Many people believe that the Middle Ages were a dark age where the Church controlled everything and prevented any scientific progress. And there's always someone saying, but what about the Inquisition and Galileo? Didn't the Church burn scientists? But what no one tells you is that without the Catholic Church, modern science might not even exist. Did you know that the first universities in the world were created by the Church? Universities like Bologna, Paris, and Oxford, all of them emerged within the structure of the Catholic Church. And do you know what was studied there? Theology, philosophy, and science. The Church has always understood that faith and reason are not enemies, but complementary. And who taught this? St. Albert the Great, St. Thomas Aquinas, the greatest intellectuals of the Middle Ages. Now take a look at this list. Gregor Mendel, the father of genetics, was a Catholic monk. Nicholas Copernicus, the creator of heliocentrism, was a Catholic cleric. Roger Bacon, a pioneer of the scientific method, was a Franciscan friar. Georges Lemaître, the creator of the Big Bang Theory, was a Catholic priest. See the pattern? If the Church were the enemy of science, does it make sense that it invested so much in education, libraries, and research? How can we explain that priest scientists were pioneers in so many fields? The most logical explanation is that the Church saw, and still sees, scientific investigation as part of understanding divine creation. If the Church were against science, how could so many important scientists have been religious? But what about Galileo? Didn't the Church condemn him? Galileo faced complex issues involving politics, personal rivalries, and also biblical interpretation at the time. But science, as a whole, was never banned. It's a case that needs to be studied in context, not in simplistic headlines. Even Pope Urban VIII was a friend and patron of Galileo. And most importantly, the Church never rejected heliocentrism. It only asked for more scientific evidence before accepting it. In other words, this story that the Church destroyed science is pure misinformation. And speaking of solid knowledge, if you want to have all the Catholic answers at your fingertips, not just about science, but also about controversial topics like the Inquisition, Protestant objections, and even subjects related to Mary in the Bible, I have something special. This is the Faith Defense Guide, a complete resource refuting the main objections against the Church. And the best part, for a super affordable price. The link is in the description at CT. But don't leave the video yet, because the most controversial part is still coming. Now let's debunk the last myths that critics love to repeat. Many still talk about the Inquisition. Did you know that the Inquisition courts were fairer than the civil courts of the time? In 300 years, the Inquisition condemned about 3,000 people. That's far fewer than any other institution of the time. The Inquisition judged fewer people in 300 years than secular France did in 1 year of the Revolution. And look, Many so-called heretics were actually common criminals, not scientists. Yes, there were abuses by some individuals, but most cases had nothing to do with the persecution of scientists. Many of these stories were exaggerated or distorted by popular culture. They also say that the church burned scientific books, quite the opposite. While the Roman Empire was collapsing, it was Catholic monks who hand-copied the books of Aristotle, Plato, and so many others. As St. Thomas Aquinas says, grace does not destroy nature but perfects it. Without the church, much of the knowledge of antiquity would have been lost. People believed that science only advanced when the church lost power. On the contrary, the foundations of modern science were built by theologians, monks, and Catholic priests. The scientific method itself was developed in universities founded by the church. That's right. Many people criticize the Catholic Church, but they've never read a single official document to understand what it really did or didn't do for science. So, if someone still tells you that the church held back science, you can be sure that person doesn't know history. The truth is simple. The Catholic Church not only supported science, it was fundamental to its birth and growth. Without the church, there might not even be universities, genetics, or even the Big Bang Theory. Now tell me, who really held back science? The Catholic Church didn't survive 2,000 years by accident. It embraces faith and reason, encourages the pursuit of knowledge, and has inspired generations of scientists for centuries. So if this video helped you see the Church's role in science more clearly, send it to someone who still believes in myths and historical distortions. Let's spread the truth. And before you go, click the link to get your faith defense guide. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave your like to support this work. See you in the next video. God bless you.